Netflix's Vikings Valhalla, the sequel to the History Channel's Vikings, released this weekend. How does it compare to its predecessor? Let's find out. Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and I only just finished the original Vikings show last month for the first time, so I cannot profess a long-held nerdy love for the series, but what I did see I fell in love with quite quickly. Despite some rampant issues and wokeism, I did enjoy this new show near as much as the original. This was very much a Netflix show, with race and gender swaps, along with subverting gender roles. Irregardless of this, the show does still focus primarily on the historical leads of the era, leaving them as strong, masculine white men. Leif Erikson and Harold Sigurdsson were definitely standouts from this category, both actors delivering compelling performances and intimate chemistry with their co-stars. Still in the vein of the original show, Vikings Valhalla offers the audience conflicted heroes, doing the best they can in a dark era, often making heinous decisions, making none of them truly heroes. However, this is still a Netflix show, so the diverse characters are the exceptions to this character norm. They, unfortunately, never make any mistakes and are very much Mary Sue's. Luckily, the woke characters have very small roles, allowing the audience to soon forget about these empty characters and enjoy the better written ones that are allowed to make mistakes. And spoilers ahead. Vikings Valhalla follows the early days of Leif Erikson before his legendary journey to the far west. After his sister's brutal rape and mutilation, Leif swears to sail from Greenland to Norway to hunt his sister's abuser and bring justice down upon him. When he and his crew arrives in Norway, they discover that the Viking settlers in England had recently been slaughtered, and Norway is uniting to wage a war of revenge against England. Ignoring this conflict, Leif had his sister take their revenge, but they are forced to take part in this war or be executed for their crimes. Months later, the war is won and the kings of Norway once again turn on each other, the Christian Vikings sworn to convert or kill all pagan Vikings. Leif joins with his new friends in the defense of the pagan city of Kattegat against the invading Christians. At a great cost, the battle is won, and Kattegat is saved, but not before Leif loses the last member of his crew, unleashing a berserker rage within him before cutting to black. The show was good, but nowhere near as good as its predecessor. All of the customary Netflix inclusions were the weakest links. The violence is still brutal and visceral, and the deaths intense. Besides that, none of the original show's complexity or political intrigue carries over. The show thinks it's as smart as the original, but it fails to reach that high bar. This shortcoming applies to the show in every other category as well. Nothing the show offers compares to the original Vikings. Even the ideological battle between pagans and Christians that defined the original show here is simplified and removed of all complexity, painting the Christians as nearly wholly evil and the pagans nearly wholly good. Taking away the heart of one of the franchise's central conflict decreases the attraction of the overall IP, harming more than it helps. My slight disappointment seems to be shared by many of the audience members, but not by the critics. Let's see what they have to say about this. When I started recording, this number was well higher than that, good near 70%. So this is definitely lower than I feel the show deserves, but let's take a look at what they have to say. And before we get into that, the critics' 100% is nowhere near earned. But let's see what they have to say. Vikings Valhalla is a great continuation of the original series. Can't wait to see what comes next. 5 stars, that's way too high for me personally, but if they enjoyed it, absolutely. Vikings was a religiously philosophical, often blood-soaked drama that charted the rise of the Vikings and the clash of the cultures that came first into the phrase in Europe. See, yeah, that was very much what the first one was about. And they seem to think it continued on in that route. I definitely want to agree. This isn't a historical epic. It's very bad fantasy soap opera. I can agree with part of that. There was some soap opera elements to it. Leif. He's a stranger to this world, Frades. He doesn't know how much has changed since he left. 30 odd years ago? Showrunner, okay, that's just going way into depth. This is just a soap opera, nothing like the original Vikings. Soap opera seems to be a very common description of it. I wasn't expecting that. Love the show. It is funny, great action, overall, a great pace. Man, I didn't know Vikings had such amazing beard trimmers, shavers, and straight razors. That's true. These are the best jobs I've seen from barbers. That was very out of place, absolutely. But from just this first page, it's very much 5 stars or half a star. There's like no middle ground. Holy fuck. I definitely fall into that middle ground, so I can see why that ended up with the 55% it got. But let's see what critics have to say. Just like its parent show, Vikings Valhalla is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but for fans of the genre, Valhalla does a great job of continuing the story established in Vikings. It really doesn't. I mean, and that's not really a criticism of the show. It's set 100 years after the original show, so there's not really much to continue after 100 years. Sailing from History Channel to Netflix, Vikings Valhalla should be an even bigger attraction, charting a new chapter set more than a century after the original. Okay, so they're just describing things. Action-filled moments are excellent and handled with ease. Okay, finally, something talking about the show. The show can sometimes feel like a montage of strapping bearded men introducing themselves to each other. But Valhalla also demonstrates enough ambition and handle of its own characters and pivotal little time periods to justify diving into its world. It's fun, no more, no less. Bit of history, bit of gore, bit of sex, bit of plot, lots of hair. Wow. Well, 3 out of 5, I can agree with that, but that's quite the critic review. I don't get how they got 100% out of critics what they were showing on the first page. All these are like 3 out of 5s, 3 out of 4, B minus, 7 out of 10. How the fuck does their algorithm get 100% after this? Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes algorithm makes no fucking sense to me. Sky high production value and an A plus ensemble. Vikings Valhalla is juggling quite a bit in season 1, but managed to support it all with a well-constructed narrative and a strew of stellar performances oozing with ferocity and conviction. I mean, that was a well-constructed review. I wouldn't agree with it wholly, but yeah, I'm not seeing the critics loving it as much as they're painted as from the main page, but some interesting comments. I don't agree with pretty much anyone on audience or critics. I'm very much middle ground. You know, like, yeah, it was worth a watch. Gonna forget it in a week type show, but nothing extraordinary or terrible. And that seems to be the opinions of these two different sides. As I mentioned earlier, there is a fair amount of wokeness in this show, which can be quite distracting from the best parts of the series. The majority of the wokeness was relegated to 2 characters, Leaf sisters Freydis and the race gender swapped Jarl Istrid Harkon. The wokeness was small, but can be immersive destroying for some.
What kind of journey was it?
5 weeks?
In this? I'm impressed.
Then you are easily impressed.
Freydis started strong, but ended very poorly. Halfway through the season, Freydis joined a squad of shield maidens, a group of elite female warriors. She had no training, and within a week or so she was skilled enough to take on the entire squad on her own. A week later, she annihilates a legendary Viking lord that everyone was afraid of. Additionally, her boyfriend, an otherwise strong man, debases himself whenever they're together, constantly telling her how amazing she is. These are all some classic signs of Mary Susan that makes it difficult to connect with her. Despite that, her arc prior to joining the Shield Maidens was a good one, free of wokeism. It's a pity initially good character was ruined by wokeism.
We're going to see even more fierce women in Vikings Valhalla. So, yeah, prepare yourself.
Jarl Istrid was driven by identity politics from her very inception. The character was race and gender swapped, despite that being out of place in 11th century Norway, and despite her character being based on a real-life straight white man. Similar to Freydis, she was not allowed to make mistakes or be weak. She is all things perfect, kind, just, wise, strong, skilled, and pious. Additionally, she has an elite squad of very diverse shield maiden, making the main force of heroes very diverse for no reason and in spite of logic. All this makes it impossible to like or connect with her at even the most basic level. Her role is small, so her inclusion doesn't change her effect much, but she's extremely distracting whenever she is included.
That your God is Odin or Christ means nothing to me! Only your courage does!
As the only good Christian in the show, a lot rested on Harold's shoulders to continue the complexity of the Christianity versus paganism argument. The writers did fail him in this sense, but otherwise, he was a decent character. Whenever Harold was away from his girlfriend Freydis, he was allowed to be strong and complicated. But whenever they were together, he became a whiny, subservient bitch, constantly telling her how amazing she is. Beyond that, his chemistry with Leif Erikson's actor was incredible, even just in their few scenes. Their mutual respect made the audience understand their conflict and their friendship. The rest of the supporting cast didn't contribute much. Some were interesting, but fleeting. None of them bear mentioning here.
Leif Erikson, he's the son of Eric the Red. He's been brought up with his sister Freydis in Greenland.
Leif Erikson was an interesting character, written decently. However, the actor gave a mostly one-note performance. I did enjoy his performance and his character, but it was a little lackluster. There wasn't much of an arc for his character, and not much changed within him. The thing that made him more interesting despite this was his motivations were clear and relatable. The show does set up a potential arc in Season 2 for him, and that is the only interesting thing to look forward to, being continued in Season 2. Vikings Valhalla is nowhere near as good as the original Vikings, but there is enough good in it to make it worth a watch for anyone interested. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.